Okay, so I got all the photos put in this video, so we're good now. It took me a sec, I apologize. But, yeah, at Anna, I think you were triggered by two different things. One thing being that you were kind of upset that light-skinned and brown-skinned Africans were lighter than you, being a mixed person. I think that's more so what your problem is, that you want your complexion not to have anything in common with black people, so then you seek to make black people who are lighter than you mix when we're not. I do not consider the people I posted to be light-skinned, really. Now, a few of them, yes, the ones that were yellow, yes, they were light-skinned, but the ones who were my color were not light-skinned. I'm not light-skinned. I think you got confused with me, too. You've been trying to call me light-skinned, and I've been trying to tell you I'm not light-skinned. I'm not... Some crazy people will do this, basically. They will turn the lens a certain way. When I turn my lens to the face of the phone, it's going to make me look lighter. If I turn the lens out and it shows through the mirror, that's my actual complexion. So I'm brown, and you thought I was gray or something. That's probably the lens washing me out, but I'm actually a light brown complexion. I've done like paper bag tests to show this. One, because like if you're close to the color, then you know that someone's not very light skinned. And I do this on purpose to show you guys that, hey, no matter what the camera is telling you, in respect to other things in the room that I'm doing the video, you can actually get an idea of what my complexion is. So you understand what perspective I'm speaking in when I talk about colors. I mean, I know it's kind of weird sometimes with lighting for brown-skinned girls. Excuse me, sometimes we can look dark, and sometimes we can look light. And if you're talking about being brown-skinned while looking dark or light, it looks weird, you know. So that's why I always do that. But the point is, you know, I flip the picture so then you can actually see it's on the same day that I did the videos. Literally, I'm wearing the same clothing and everything. I might even do it one day where I actually flip the phone so you guys see on video that that's the same me. It's just the lens on the inside of the phone. Honestly, I think you know this trick because when you put your phone on the lens on the inside, you do look lighter. But then when you take it out, you look darker. But I just am not the type to go off of something fake like that, so that's why I tell the truth and just say I'm brown, you know. Now, back to what I was saying about the whole situation, you know, with you being triggered. I think, like I said, you have to understand this. Stop thinking about what a black person's skin tone is and think of it this way. A mixed person should be allowed to be accepted as mixed, whether they're light, medium, or dark. A black person should be allowed to be accepted as black, whether they are light, medium, or dark. You understand that you have a range, right? So then obviously black people have a range too. So that's what I think. You know, you need to stop being triggered by light-skinned black people. They exist. I'm not one of them, by the way. I'm brown-skinned, and I consider you brown-skinned too. But, well, brown-skinned for black people. For a mixed person, I would think, well, we won't get into that. I'm just saying for black people, on the scale of black people, you would be brown-skinned. But the point is, what I'm trying to say here is this, that, you know, you don't have to be triggered by the fact that lighter-skinned black people exist. Light-skinned black people exist. actually yellow complected black people exist. They take DNA tests and they're 80-90% black. You can look on YouTube, you will find light-skinned black people, true light-skinned people, hitting 80% black easily. That happens. It's just what it is. Then there are people who are light brown who hit 80%, 90%, sometimes 100%. I showed the Nigerian girl in one of my other videos that showed that actually she was yellow and she was 99.9% or something like that. Basically 100% Niger, like, excuse me, 100% African. I think she was like 99% Nigerian. So, I mean, like, that's why I'm like, I don't get why it should bother you. It shouldn't, because understand that your race is what your race is, no matter what your skin tone is. You are mixed, you should be accepted as a mixed person, whether you're light, medium, or dark. That means that you still would be mixed. Black people can be light, medium, or dark. That's not an offense to you. Trying to the existence of light-skinned black people is a thing that dark-skinned people do and mixed-race people do because it benefits them both. The reason why is because mixed people who come from dark-skinned people end up the same color, or in your case, sometimes even darker, than the light-skinned black people. So then you guys want to try and claim that they must be mixed. But the thing is, you guys just came from a different people. One other thing I wanted to talk about was bleaching. Okay, so you were trying to claim that the Nigerians were bleaching. Okay, so if they were bleaching, one, their knuckles wouldn't be dark. Two, it's not just about the skin tone. The facial features are actually very different from yours. Now, the Igbo has features similar to you, but the Arua, the House of Fulani, do not. And I actually analyzed your face and their face to show you that no, they don't. When they're analyzed, their facial features are very much like mine. So it's not like it's a thing where, you know, it can be attained by bleaching. If you bleached your skin, your facial bone structure would stay the same. Changing the color of your skin doesn't change your bone structure. You do understand that, right? So trying to claim someone bleached is just more so a jealousy tactic because you're upset if they are lighter than you and they look more mixed than you. But it's like this. If someone looks like a fucking elephant, does that make them a fucking elephant? No. They're still a human being. Same thing here. If a black person looks more mixed than you, then does that really mean they are a mixed person? No. It just means they look mixed. If you think of it anyway, it's, to me, from my perspective, it's like this. What is mixed looking? You have to understand, for some people, for example, an Asian, mixed looking is very different than what mixed looking is for someone who is of Sudanese descent, for example. You know, mixed race looking people look different depending on what they were mixed with. So you being mixed with a dark-skinned West African guy who looks more like the stereotypical look of a West African guy will make you look in between that phenotype and a white phenotype or a Hispanic phenotype and so forth. You know, you won't find that with someone who is obviously of Nigerian descent or Arua descent. basically, because their phenotype is different. Just like think Ethiopians and East Africans who mix with white people, the mixture that is created looks very different from you as well. That's that mixture. Don't you get it? So it's different depending on who is mixing and what is created between the two. So of course you look more black than a lot of West African Nigerian people because you're not coming from those people. You're coming from a different type of people. And excuse me. By the way, when I say Nigerian people, I don't mean all Nigerian people. There are tons of tribes in Nigeria, so their phenotypes range. So, you could show me a Nigerian that looks like your father, and I've seen some. But there's also Nigerians that don't look like that. It is what it is, you know. In my experience, personally, honestly, with Nigerian people, if I interact with Igbo people or Igbo people and Yoruba people, usually they say you look more like the Arua people, basically. That's what I've always been told. I look more like the Arua. The House of Fulani people, the people of the North, basically. People of the North are oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, because you were saying that East Africans were mixed. East Africans are not mixed like what you're saying. They're not mixed like you. They're like 70 to 80% black, and then the rest is non-sub-Saharan African ancestry. So they are mixed, but not to a high level like you. They're admixed. The same goes for people who are House of Fulani too, to some extent, but not to that high of a number. House of Fulani people are I think they're 85 to 95% sub-Saharan African heritage. So they do have the other heritage in them, but obviously, like I said, if you're over 80% black, how mixed are you? And, like I said, with the one-drop rule, technically they did say back then that if you were anything between 10 and 90% black, you were basically considered in one of the mixed race categories, be it Cicatrice, the Griff, Mulatto, Quadroon, or Octoran. So, you could say technically some of them would fall into that, but we aren't really counting people who are 85–90% black as mixed, are we? Because if we did that, I already told you, then black Americans would all be mixed, now wouldn't they? That's the whole point about the one-drop rule. You were trying to say that it's racist against mixed people because it makes you black. But the thing is, the whole one-drop rule's use was for the whole sector, not just half black, quarter black, 3/4 black, 1/8 black, 7/8 black, so forth. So that would include everybody, basically, which I don't believe in. I just think people who have a parent of another race, like you, can be considered mixed. That's about it. I'm not going to go all crazy about 60, 70, 80, 90. To me, those are basically black people. So, one other part I wanted to talk about was, with these people, it's not solely based on skin tone, as if, like what I was saying earlier, where you were trying to say that basically black people who have a high percentage, I guess, of African ancestry or whatever, would have to bleach to get to a lighter hue. But you didn't pay attention to the fact that these people look tons less black than you do. Tons. On the analyzer, it says you're 60 to 70% African on your facial structure. Many of them don't even have African on their list of races that they phenotypically look like. So obviously, it's not just a skin tone thing here. I mean, yes, they are lighter than you, but that's not the main thing here that I wanted to point out. I like to point out the facial features. The reason I like to point out the facial features is because for me, if you look at me and you look at them, we look the same. And once you see that, you understand where it all came from. Because you'll see me and you see them, and then you see basically that, there's a commonality here. That's why I'm like 40% Nigerian, a bit above that in some tests. So, I mean, I don't see why it should bother you that these people are, what they are. They're black, they just look phenotypically different than you. I feel most of the time with, some sectors like yours, they sometimes get frustrated and angry because they want to have their phenotype a certain way. And they see people like me who look less black than them, and then they get mad because they think, how can you be such a high percentage of African, and I'm a lower percentage, and I look so much more black than you? God made it that way, okay? It's what it is, I can't change facts for you. I can't. It's just what it is. Now, I wanted to say one other thing, and I'll be done, I guess. Oh, yeah, on me, because you were mad at me, and you were trying to say I was bleaching or whatever. Well, if you actually looked at your photos and looked at my photos, you'll see who has the gray tinge to their skin. You do. Now, I think you have a grayish tinge because you have too much lighting on your skin, and you are of a darker hue than me. I don't have a grayish hue when I'm not tanned because I'm yellow undertoned. So I'm a mix of brown and yellow. When I lose my tan, I get more close to yellow, but I'm never actually yellow. This is why I'm a brown skinned girl. And when I tan, I get more of a brown hue. Now, sometimes I can look a little grayish because of that. Right now, I'm not, because I've lost much of my tan because I stayed in for about 3 weeks, and when that happens, usually I go down a bit to my normal, natural complexion. Not completely, though. I mean, I'd have to stay in a little bit longer. So I am actually technically still tanned in those photos, but you get what I mean. My point is about you and, how you wanted to try and claim that I was bleaching or something. I think, like I said, you got confused by the lens because when you turn the lens the other way, the way you normally do your videos with the bright light, it makes you look lighter than what you are. And that could actually make you a bit jealous, I guess, to some extent, because when you do it, you still look darker than me. When I do it, I look a lot lighter. This is why I don't like it, but I really hate it. Because it's like, it makes the features so much wider than they actually are when you turn the screen the right way. So that's why I like to show what I look like when I turn the screen around, because that's how I look day to day. I look brown. And this is what I mean. When I talk about colorism, and when I talk about issues to do with skin tone, I usually want to talk about it as a brown-skinned girl, and I really would rather people see that. And sometimes I feel like when I show my face, people won't really see it in the camera because it'll either look too light or it'll either look like it's in a dark area. And then it's like you can't really talk about being a brown-skinned girl because people get confused when they're looking at you, thing. So that's why I kind of am thinking I might actually switch my lens around while doing a video just so people can see when I switch the lens out how brown I am and then how I am when I am doing my videos normally. So that's basically all I have to say here. Oh, there was one photo that actually showed you to be almost the percentage that you are black. One said that you are 59% black. I see that now. But yeah, as you can see, like on my photos, when I'm analyzed, when my face is analyzed, it's usually not specified as anything to do with African ancestry, and that's got to do with my facial features. Nothing to do with my skin tone, nothing to do with my hair texture. Specifically has to do with the facial features, so it is what it is. I don't put too much importance on my skin tone, I really don't. I think you guys always put so much freaking importance on the skin tone when people of all races can be this complexion, most complexions, well, not the very dark skin, but you get what I'm saying, like people with tan complexions can. Oh, there was one other thing that you were offended by. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. You were upset about the whole thing about me saying that bleachers have dark knuckles, dark nipples, and they're darker down there. Yeah, that's how I see it. I'm sorry, that's what I've always thought, because if you look at dark-skinned women, down there, they're always dark. Especially, like, if you watch, like, porn or anything, if you've ever run across any type of porn with a dark-skinned girl, you will see they're darker down there. Nothing wrong with it. I think you see dark as a bad thing. When I said darker, well, and when I say dark, anyway, I don't mean, like, it's darker than the rest of you. I'm saying it's like your nipples are black, basically, and down there you're basically black, kind of thing. And like your knuckles are basically black. Because if you look at dark-skinned people's knuckles, they're very dark, very dark. If you look at their nipples, they're very dark. Down there, they're very dark. This is a major reason why, for me, I would never want to have sex with a black man. Because black men have very dark penises, and I've talked about this over and over again, and how I find that's very scary, honestly. It looks very weird, and I don't mean, that's not against black women either. To me, I don't think black women look weird. I think black men look like the weirdest motherfuckers ever down there, really, seriously. To a point that's just like unhumanly scary, honestly, when you look at them. Um, Also, I wanted to also say, if you fall under that category where you have those darker traits, one, well, you're darker than me, so of course maybe that's normal for you. If you looked at my body, for one, this is what I've said before in the past. If you are like me, you can basically show your nudes, and no one's going to know it's you. The reason they're not going to know it's you is because your body is so light. People don't even know when they look at your body that you are a black person. Like, when they look at me, like, if I show my boobs and my waist or something of that nature, most people wouldn't even know that that's a black person. Some white people have asked me, how do I get my tan? That's how my skin is. That's why I'm like, if you have a tan complexion, then the way your skin is going to be very different than a dark-skinned black person, because the skin is just different complexions. The main thing about tan skin is that it tans very well. That's why it's called tan skin. Which is why my body is much lighter than my face, because it's tan skin, duh. But my point is, I just wanted to say, of course, your skin might be different from mine. That's totally fine. I think dark skin is beautiful. Brown skin is beautiful. Honestly, I think darker brown skin than mine is ideal, just like dark skin. I'm very preferential towards dark skin, so don't think I was ever trying to attack you for being darker. I honestly think you're a very beautiful young woman. Also, one other thing. Beyonce, I don't think bleaches. I don't. Look at her. She's darker than Halle Berry. And she always is. She just has lighting on her. See, this is another person you got confused about. When you see someone in bright light, you think they bleach. A bright light doesn't mean they bleach. It means it's a bright light. So that's what I mean. You need to actually pay attention and put things into context. You said I was slow, but you couldn't even catch on to the fact that if someone looks different in different lighting, obviously a bright light is not bleaching cream. It's just a bright light. So that's basically all I have to say here. I just thought, I'd add some common sense to your comments, and, you can think it over, you can watch this video, you don't have to watch this video, I don't care, but I thought it was a fun video to do, so, thanks for watching, and I'm not mad at you or anything. I mean, I know you have a different past than me, that's fine.